Hello and welcome to another episode of Ask a Creative. I'm very excited today because we have an award-winning author with us here today. Welcome, Kylie.
Hello, Michelle. Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you back after the launch of your gorgeous book. And we've done a little bit of questions that the kids have asked, but today I wanted to ask you some grown-up questions about, your journey to being this amazing award-winning author. So tell me about where did the journey start for you?
So, well, being over 40, it's a long journey. but
Tell me about it.
I, I think there's three main influences sort of have blocked together where I'm going with the whole writing process and what I'm publishing. And I think that the first block is was discussed in Empowering Women, Empowering the World, the first published collaboration I was with, and that explores childhood trauma and abuse and the overcoming of these types of challenges, which is something that so many of us need to, at some stage in life, come to terms with. Mm-hmm. Then the second block was there was a Back Yourself was a collaboration again that was brought out by a lot of business women. We were all finalists in the Oz Mumpreneur. And in chapter 1 there, I reflect on the clarity that can be found in niching right down into your passion and, being so driven and finding business success through latching onto that passion and that purpose. And then, of course, there's Little People, Big Emotions, which is the children's book that we were talking about. And that's definitely the passion project. And that's, in that publication, going through that whole journey of the way I've developed into this holistic coach, and that my focus is on creating mentally healthy, resilient, and emotionally intelligent young people, and utilizing the network that they have around them, and talking to parents and caregivers about the really important role they play in young people's health.
So let's talk a little bit more about that focus, because I know this is a cause very close to your heart. Why that specific topic?
I think that when I have this very dark past in the childhood area, and through so much of my journey through, entrepreneurship and businesses and all of this kind of success, it was something that I just pushed aside a lot. And working with young people, I never really looked at using my experience to help with young people's experience until I think it was when I started exploring psychology, when I went back to uni and started looking into how our brains work and how we're developed from our experiences. We're developed from the filters that our perspectives make. And that's why we all have such different perspectives. Even if you have similar perspectives with somebody else, it's never the same because you've all gone through your own journey. And I think that when I really started digging into the parts of my past that I needed to reconcile with, I started getting really passionate about young people and how I can help them to skip so many of the issues that I had to go through, if I can help them to connect with the adults that are going to help them. If something's going on in a child's life, they should never not say anything. They need to speak about their emotions, to speak about their fears, and because an adult will always be able to bring that adult perspective and help them.
Absolutely. And I think I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday, actually, at the Writers' Convention conference, that when you start writing for kids, you need to not think with your adult brain. Obviously, you need to think with your kid brain. And for those of us who have had that trauma, especially in that genre that we're writing in, it stirs up all these big emotions. So this isn't necessarily a book just for kids.
No. It's definitely
can heal adults as well. Yeah.
It's definitely taking some of the really pivotal concerns that we all have as parents. We all wonder about how we can best protect our children from the dangerous place that is the world. And it's about, mainly, I just wanted to focus on opening communication channels. because I reflect on what happened to me and the whole journey it was with, you know, the emotions that I felt, the people that, you know, I didn't have that safe big person to go to. I never felt like I had the opportunity to work through issues. And I think that the important thing about this book is that so many times parents feel like they can't do anything because they're not qualified to do anything. Whereas being the parent makes you qualified. It
Absolutely.
makes you the most important person in the young person's life. And as long as you have an open communication channel, you know, you start from there. Start from the fact that they talk to you at all.
And the other thing I love about this book is it gives kids the language they need to be able to initiate conversation, because I know, you know, that's a big blocker for a lot of kids. Like, they want to talk about what's happening or what has happened, but they don't have the right vocabulary to say it. So this book is very good about giving them the words and for them being able to initiate conversation. So I think it's such an important thing that this book gets out there, not only you know, into all the amazing bookshelves of all our kids, but in schools, you know, for doctors' offices, for any of those people who are dealing with kids in crisis. Like, this is so important because it gives them the language they need, and it also gives them the confidence they need as well, that they do have a voice. Like, and how do you think your childhood has impacted that journey for you? Do you think you were always destined to write this book?
I'm not sure. I mean, reflecting on it, I always knew I was going to write. Because I was always so passionate about words and writing. But I think this really came from, you know, writing it in the pandemic. So many people were working through so much anxiety, so much, you know, and trauma hits everybody at different places because of who they are and what they're traumatized by and what they're anxious about. And, you know, that's why I think that it was so important, the conversations I had with Tina Morton about the illustrations. Like, there was so much back and forth, and particularly with the monster, because we all have monsters. And my monster, well, when Tina first interpreted the monster wasn't scary. And because Tina was focused on, you know, the paper tigers kind of monster that children, it's valid, it's scary, it's big for them, but it's something that can easily be assuaged by the right adult giving them support. Whereas my monster was, this is a dark place, this is a bad thing, and I wanted to give them the platform, as you say, to sort of, you know, go to that person and say, hey, there's something that's really upsetting me. And I think through working with Tina, her monster and my monster turned into our monster, which is what we're delivering to the young people. But that's why it's really important too, that I've got this free study guide to go with it. And one of the activities in the study guide is to, you know, for the older kids, maybe write about your monster, but definitely for the younger people, draw it. Because young people, even if they can't put things into words, even if they don't have the ways to say it, you learn so much from how children are, you know, trying to reach out through what they draw. And so it was such a really important activity in the study guide to promote parents and caregivers and educators to get the kids to draw whatever their monster is, and then explain why their monster looks like that, because there's so much that can be explored and uncovered through that.
Yeah, it's huge, isn't it? What was your relationship with books like as a child?
Well, I was one of these kids that, you know, I loved escaping to the portal that a book gave. You know, I could sit down on the front porch and just be lost for hours. As long as, you know, I wasn't in the way of anyone who needed to kick me on the way past, I was not even there. And then, you know, at school, I was one of those kids that would just disappear into the library, you know, just finding that refuge in there. So you know, as I said, I always knew I wanted to write, because trying to create images with words has been something that I've been fascinated with forever. So books, yeah, super important to me.
Such kindred spirits, we really are, Kylie. So now that you've kind of been on this journey and you've gone through the process of developing the book, and now you have the book and releasing this amazing award-winning book, out of all of that, what for you do you feel is the most important part of what you're doing right now?
I think that, I mean, it all boils down to empowering young people and reminding those young people that they're not necessarily what the world tells them they are. You know, to give them that inner strength to say, no, I'm not that label that you're putting on me. And, you know, every time I take the book and I write the little, because whenever I sell a book, I write a personalized note in the front. And every time I'm picturing that little person, there's a memory that automatically comes back to me. And it's this father figure who was so adamant and so, like, he was literally so angry and so frustrated, trying to ensure that I knew that I was not important. I was not special. My story was nothing to talk about, that, you know, that there was nothing unique about me. And every time that I'm citing these books, I'm channeling that stone throwing and building the pathway from it. And I'm just like, you know, I need other kids to know that if somebody's doing this for you, these are the stepping stones. This is how you pave your journey. You just use their stones as a lift off to be your best self.
Absolutely. And I think there's so many people, especially in our generation, I think, because you're the same vintage as me, but who were told, you know, not to show off. Like, so if you did really well at something, or, you know, got published in a anthology or won a writing competition or something like that at school, and it was very much, well, great, but, you know, let's not make too big of a deal of it, because we don't want to show off. We don't want to, you know, rub it in anyone else's faces. And you almost feel like, oh, well, you know, it stops you. It stops a lot. And I know it's a lot of authors that I've spoken to had this amazing experience in primary school and early high school, where they were doing all this amazing things with their writing, and then had this experience where they were told, you know, it's a nice hobby, but let's not show off about it. And it blocked them from writing until, you know, they were parents, and then they didn't want that experience to happen to their kids. So I think, you know, it's on so many levels, this book is really important for people to face their monsters and go, well, you know, this is a situation that has happened to me in the past, and I need to be able to have the language to be able to heal that, you know, inner child, and say, well, actually, I can do something special, and it's okay for me to stand out from the crowd.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that social media really adds another crazy complex element to all of that. Because you do, you know, social media is where people market who they are, whether that's the fact that you're, you know, taking pictures of every meal that you make and plates that you serve up, whether it is that you just flood it with pictures of your own children, or, you know, I obviously put a lot of stuff about the work that I do, but I definitely struggle with, you know, I want to delete my social media so often, because I'm just like, no one wants to hear this. No one wants to know about this. I'm, you know, it's like I'm banging people over the head with this. But, you know, and that's a monster that I have to face with the whole imposter syndrome, where I'm just like, no one wants to know this. And then I have to say, no, hang on, I'm making a difference. Every time I sell a book, and you know, the parents or the carers get back to me and they say, thank you so much, I really value this. So I'm just like, you know, there's a reason I'm doing it, but we all have to face our own fears about putting ourselves out there and a lot of the time getting knocked down again.
Absolutely. And imposter syndrome is huge, especially in the creative industries as well, I think, because it's not like, we're not selling Coca-Cola or KFC here. Like, this is a little part of ourselves that we're releasing out of our body and putting it out there into the world for public scrutiny and, and review and either way we are inviting people to comment on what we've created. So it's so tricky. Is that the most challenging thing, do you think, or is there something else that you found the most challenging on this journey?
I think that definitely for me, it's, and as when I was talking about it with your little audience as well, with your under 12, it's just so much of my fear of people and fear of social places is that imposter syndrome, is that, just feeling like I don't belong, feeling like I'm not good enough, that feeling like a fraud. And when you're trying to take something like, a book that you've written, or even the apps that I designed as well, like if you take something that you've poured your heart into, and as you say, hold it up for the world to see and say, what do you think of this? And, if it gets ignored or you get, knocked back or that kind of thing, it just, you've really got to have that inner resilience to go, okay, it's not for everybody, but it's still helping somebody.
Yep.
And that's what I mean about, facing your own monsters. Every day I've got to go, okay, this isn't going to be for everybody, but hopefully I'll get through to somebody who it's going to be really helpful for. And that's the challenge that I have to face every day, because I could just say, oh, well, we'll just let Karen as the publisher, we'll just let her do all of the advertising for me. But at the end of the day, my goal is to get this resource out to as many kids as possible, get the app out to as many kids as possible. And if I'm not partaking in that, then I'm not really working on my own goal.
But I think that's also why you've been so successful. I think any time that you release anything in this industry at the moment, it's really comes back to that adage that's going around at the moment of nothing about us without us. Like, this is your life, this is your journey and your experience. And one of the reasons why this book has been so successful is because you have got the street cred to back it up. And it's not just, writing a book to sell copies. There is a absolute, true and identified purpose on why this book exists and what good it could do for the world. So I think that's just an absolute credit to you and to everything that you've achieved so far. And I think you're an absolute role model to the people who are watching, who are just thinking that they have got an idea that might be a bit niche or maybe something that they don't think is commercial enough for mainstream publishing. What advice would you have to those aspiring authors who are just at that idea stage now, where they're just thinking, I've got an idea for something that I think could really help, but I'm just not sure?
Yeah, I think that my truest advice would be, like, if it's your passion, if you think it's going to make a difference in the world, definitely go for it. But you've got to be really thick-skinned as well. You've got to know that, right from the start, like my little sister, she's writing a book at the moment. She's an Olympic athlete. And so she's, writing her memoirs in. And right from the very start, you've got to take on the fact that there's going to be editors that want to change what you're saying. There's going to be publishers that aren't going to do it the way you want it. And there's going to be people who are, as you say, the whole poppy syndrome. People just like to cut other people down. I mean, you've got to be thick-skinned enough to withstand all of those pressures. But that's the other thing too, is if you're truly passionate about something, and if this, this is your purpose, then you are going to be strong enough to get through it. Because, as you say, like, this book is, I'm so passionate about the message and the design and the study guide, and that's what helps deflect the stones that are thrown, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. And letting go of your expectations as well. I think there's, we've all got to remember the thing about social media is it's often not real. It's often the best representation of people, and the journey that a lot of very successful authors have isn't always as shiny and bright as what it can appear, especially if you're only seeing the good bits. So letting go of the expectations and just using what is and taking one step at the time. So yeah, I totally agree with you. So what's end goal? So what's big goal for you for this book?
Ultimately, it's to see it in libraries, in schools, in those educational settings, being used as an educational resource, because it's a beautiful book, and the message, and it's very rhythmic in the strategies that I've used, the literary devices. But at the end of the day, I want it to be a platform for discussion. I want it to be that open communications channel that are going to give the little people the voices that they need. And there's so much coming from, because my career covers education and yoga therapy and psychology. All of these interconnected places means that it doesn't matter which page you're on, you can be talking to a different perspective. And I think that if it's in an educational environment, there's so many different channels you can take to help individuals learn. And I was talking earlier about, this is one of the soapboxes that I could jump on so easy about, because I'm a retired school teacher. I've been in the system. I've seen it from the inside. I'm now looking from the outside. And, there's so many different opportunities to encourage learners to learn through teaching them how their brain works. And when I look at this book, I'm like, yeah, you can definitely use it on a psychology kind of theme going there. So I think that, so much opportunity to use it as an educational resource. So that's really where I want it to go.
Yeah. And I'll definitely pop a link in the comments so everyone can go to your website and have a look at all of the amazing resources that you have there. So for those people who are going and getting a copy of this book, what would your suggestion be for the best way to actually use it to get the most out of it?
I definitely think that there's so much power in young people sitting with adults, reading a book, tangibly connecting with the book, because it's not just about the fact that you're reading a book and they're following the words and that kind of thing. It's about that fact that the little person acknowledges that mum found time, and this is our time. And, it doesn't matter what's happening in the rest of the world. This is what's happening right now. And it's those bonds between the young people and the adults that are so critical. And that's why I'm always talking about the fact that you've got to read to the young people. You've got to take that time aside and read with them. So I think that's really important to have that special quality, tangible time. And then from there, just open up fluid conversation. And if the parents or the caregivers are getting stuck on where to go or how to go, then that's why the study resource is there, because there's so many activities that I've put in there that you can use if you need them. So there's so many opportunities.
And tell me a bit more about the app as well.
The app was very much focused on the other part of my academic side, which is working with children. I holistically coach children. So it started out, I resigned from state education, moved into the tutoring field because I saw kids falling through the cracks and I wanted to help. And it started with just tutoring. But then as I became more and more qualified with all of this other stuff, now it's really honed in on, finding out who they are as an individual learner and helping. And, the app is called How to Write with Kylie Mort, because I was originally thinking there's so much that I go over and over again for each group or each person that I talk with. The tutoring, it's not just, a tutoring session to learn maths or something. The way we do it is 45 minutes of face-to-face, and then I write reports. I do analyses. I give them goals. I talk to the parents about how they can support the child at home. Like, it's really holistic. And I was thinking about, I keep repeating this over and over again. I need an avenue to say, here it is. Here's my brain. Use it as you will. And I was saying that to a friend about, it's going to take so much. I don't know where to start. And he said, well, why don't you just start with writing essays? Because that's what you do. That's your niche. So I've now started with writing essays, but of course, because of who I am, there's also a bit about gratitude journaling. There's also a bit about self-reflection. There's also a bit about narrative writing, and it's just ways to break down the process of writing. So it's not that daunting staring at a blank piece of paper going, how do I write this? I don't know where to start. It's that gradual question and answer format that just talks them gently through the whole process.
Amazing. So I'll put all of those details up there, but if someone's watching wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way that they can do that?
Oh, email me for sure. My email is, I always check it, Kylie Mort 22 at gmail.com. It's not even a personalized one. But yeah, I especially with there's been the books goes through Buy from Vanilla, the website sales, and it's been a bit glitchy. So I've literally been saying to everyone, just email me and you can get direct sales and personalized messages to your young people and that kind of thing. So yeah, Kylie Mort 22 at gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kylie. I really appreciate it. You've just an absolute wealth of knowledge when it comes to helping kids deal with those big emotions in that space. And I'm just so very grateful to you as a mum of a kid who does really struggle with those big emotions. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for creating this amazing resource. And it really does help. It's definitely helped us. So keep doing what you're doing, because we really do love what you do.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And thank you so much for, sharing about it on this platform so we can reach more families.
Absolutely. So if you would like to hop on to our YouTube channel, you can like and subscribe, and we will notify you of lots more sessions with Ask a Creative, and we will see you next time. Bye.
See ya.